What is up, YouTube? T-Roy here, and where else? Big, beautiful Deer Park, Texas, where I always am. Anyway, just wanted to bring another video to you. It's been probably about a week, if any of you guys who do follow the channel to a degree. No, I haven't posted in probably a week. I've had a lot of issues with my dad. If y'all heard in prior videos, if you watched any of them, you probably have heard me talk about it. So I've been up to the hospital a lot and having to take care of and spend the night and bathe my dad and just help my mom take care of him. So I haven't posted in a while. It may have even been a little over a week, but I'm back and I've been trying to do it at least a couple times a week. So anyway, just wanted to post something for you guys. Today I wanted to talk about Heritage guitar. I wanted to touch a little bit on Gibson, a little bit on Guitar Center, but I had already did a brief video on that a while back, and a lot of you have seen it, and or may have seen it. If you haven't, you can go back and watch that on my thoughts on that whole situation. But there has been a lot transpired even since that video with Gibson. But first, I wanted to touch on Heritage guitar. For those of you who are familiar with Heritage guitar, and great, you kind of know a little bit of the story. You might have read a little bit on what's been going on lately. But for those of you who haven't, I'll touch on a little history on it, and then I'll tell you a little history from me and from my perspective on what's happened. But Heritage guitar really consisted of a lot of the old guys back that had been with Gibson since the 50s. And what happened was back in 1986, when Gibson moved from Kalamazoo, Michigan, from the old Gibson factory at 225 Parsons Street. If any of you have ever Googled it and saw it, it's the old iconic factory. It has the big stack, has Gibson going down the side, and that factory, when they moved, a lot of the old guys said, you know what, we're not going anywhere. We're not moving to Montana or moving to do where you're moving a lot of the work to. We are going to stay right here. We'd like to buy what you have in here as far as all the machines, the old machines they used to do everything on. And so Gibson agreed to sell them what they had there because they didn't want to take it with them. And so they purchased that. They rented out, leased out the space, and they renamed it and called it Heritage Guitar. So all the Heritages that you bought over the years, or anybody that owns one, have came out of that factory. And that factory has produced, man, some of the most expensive, iconic guitars ever created in the history of guitars. I mean, some of the most expensive guitars that sold at auction have came right there from those machines, or from those guys, those hands right in that factory right there at 225 Parsons. Some of the most iconic guitars that you've seen on pictures and bands have used have came right out of that factory. And the crazy thing is, when Gibson sold it to them, or sold them the equipment rather, they left a lot of stuff behind that, I think back in that day they thought, that nobody's going to care about that stuff. It's not going to be worth anything. And now some of the stuff that they left, and I know this through a lot of people that are in the know that work there at Heritage or work for them. They've told me, said, they left things such as like the old Hummingbird stamps that stamped out the old Hummingbird pickguards and stuff like that. The original ones date way on back. Because you got to remember, that Gibson factory has been there. It's been Gibson since 1917, when Orville Gibson, who founded Gibson Guitars, rented it out to make his guitars. And Orville was only there for, I think, a couple years, because I think he passed away, if I remember right, somewhere in 1918 or 1919, somewhere around that area. So he was only there a few years when he did this. So then everybody took over. But 2017 of this year obviously marked the 100-year anniversary that guitars have been made out of that factory. Now, of course, Gibson left in '86, and they only made them up through '86 out of that factory, but it has made guitars off the same machines since 1917. So it's got so much history, and there's so much so much in that factory that it really is a museum. I mean, there's just so many things. That was just one example. There's many they've given me of the things they've left. Now, they didn't leave everything, but they did leave a lot of stuff that definitely is iconic, worth a lot, not just worth a lot of money, but also people would want to see. Really cool stuff. And so they've been approached by, I'm not sure who the company is, but to make that 225 Parsons a museum for Gibson and just the history and all that good stuff, because people don't realize back in 1950s and 60s, somewhere in that era, Gibson built two adjacent buildings beside there that they housed product, guitars, but they also did a lot of the work out of. So that building right there that sits is not where most of the stuff is done anyway. Now they are going to take that building, and I think they're going to put a lot of the stuff I've talked about that they have in there and possibly make it a museum, because since the new owners have bought bought out Heritage, they didn't have the new buildings, or the newer buildings at the time. I think at one point that one of them was a cryogenics place, and it's changed hands over the years. I've heard all kinds of stuff, but now that they're available, they went ahead and leased those buildings. So they may have purchased them, but I believe they leased them. So now they have those to work out of. So that building is not I wouldn't say needed, but it's just not. I think they're going to do some kind of museum piece out of it, which I think is fitting. So they're going to display a lot of this stuff. So now, fast forward to my point with Heritage. I know you heard in the papers that Heritage Guitar, if you keep up on this stuff, they fired 10 employees in the past, I think it's been the past week or two, and also another 4 walked out with the 10 that were fired. They left. And of course, I'm not going to say I knew this for a fact, but I see the writing on the wall, because my dad, again, had became a dealer. My history with Heritage, and I think I've said this before on videos, but back in the early 90s, we became a dealer of Heritage, and my dad loved Heritage guitars. He thought they were not just beautiful, he loved the necks on them. He even ordered one for himself, but when we got our first ones in, we had issues back then with them staying in tune, all kinds of stuff. We had to send them back, some similar stuff that I'm going through right now. So we ended up not even continuing the dealership anymore. Fast forward to just about a year and a half ago, I became a dealer here at this store for Heritage Guitar, and got my first guitar in. And a lot of you guys, if y'all have watched my videos or have went back and seen any of them, I did a video on my first one. It was a Heritage guitar. If you'll look back, you'll be able to see it. I can't remember if it was a 535 or what it was, but I can't remember. But the guitar, it was a beautiful guitar. When it came in, I opened it on camera. After the footage was shot, I later really gave it a once over and in good inspection, and I found at the top of the guitar there was a scratch. I thought it was it wasn't just a little scratch, it was like a squiggle. It was bad. It was something, it should have been caught easily. It was not even hard to see. It wasn't from the box, it wasn't from shipping, but I thought, well, maybe it's under the finish. I used all kinds of cleaner to try to get it off. I didn't use anything that was too abrasive. I didn't want to scratch the guitar since because I didn't want to send it back. The guitar was gorgeous top, really nice piece, but just quality control has been a huge issue with Heritage for really since the inception, but now it's really bad. A lot of the older guys there, they do all this handmade stuff, and that's wonderful, but the way they view it is, doing it by hand, it's not going to be perfect. Well, I beg to differ. If I'm going to pay a monster amount of money personally myself for the store, and then I pass it along to you guys, and you guys pay a big amount to get the guitar, you expect, when you're paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in some cases for these guitars, you expect a certain amount of quality. I expect a certain amount of quality. It's up here. I don't expect that to be like mass-produced guitars, and you should expect that when you pay that kind of money. It should be pristine. Well, that's not what we were getting. So that guitar, I called my rep and I told him, I said, hey man, I showed him, I sent him pictures. He's like, holy smokes. He said, this is just uncalled for. He apologized. He sent me another one immediately because this was before Christmas. This last probably October, November, probably November. And he said he was trying to get it to me so I'd have plenty of time to get it on the wall before Christmas. Well, I got that one in, and I had major issues with that one too. There was a lot of things that were just not up to par for what we were paying for that guitar. So I called him back, shot pictures of it, and he's like, man, he was very angry, not at me, but just at they've had quality control issues. Well, the new management has came in. They've tried to line a lot of this stuff out. I think they, they weren't wanting to fire these guys. They were just wanting them to get on board with the way they do things, and they're going to these are going to be from A to Z. There is processes you have to go to. So that guitar, we ensured when that guitar goes out, the customer, me, I'm the original customer, and then the buyer would be the, who I sell it to. But when I purchase it from them to resell it, they want it to be pristine when I get it, which it should be. That's the way I expect. I shouldn't have to pick up a $3,000 or $4,000 guitar and have to really eye it because I'm afraid there might be a flaw in it or something that the customer's going to see and go, I'm not paying that amount for that guitar. Shouldn't be that way. Absolutely should not be that way. So they're really working on it. I think the guys that did leave, they did not want to conform to what their new rules and regulations and it were, and so they had to leave, and that happens sometimes. I hate for anybody to lose their job, but just from the people I've talked to in the know up there, they've told me that hey, if they decided they wanted to be a part of Heritage and called them back and said, hey, we'd like to come back to work for you again, as long as they're willing to do what they're asked to do, I don't think it would be an issue. They don't, or at least according to the people that I've spoke to. But the deal is, they did leave, and there are 14 of them. They only have, I think that's like half their workforce. So I think they only had like 30-ish guys that work there. So they'll rehire good people who care about their process to get that guitar to where it needs to be before it's sent out. So this is in kind of rebuttal to what I've heard through the grapevine in some of these forums, some of these guys that did leave Heritage say, and then I've gotten the flip side of the story from other people that are in the know. So I just kind of sharing that with you guys. My 2 cents is on it. I'm speaking from a vendor, or from a dealer rather. I buy guitars from these guys, and I expect it to be a certain level, especially for what I pay for it. Because when I put it on that wall and you guys walk in and you're like, wow, that's amazing, that's beautiful, I want to purchase that, I don't have to worry. I can give it to you and know that is some of the highest quality you can get, and it should be that way. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on with Heritage. Heritage is going through a lot of changes, but it's for the good. I really believe when they start cranking guitars out at the end of probably this latter part of this year, when we finally are able to get their new stuff, it's going to be better than ever. I really, really mean that. I believe that. So I think that's a good thing. As far as the report, everybody heard that they destroyed 300 guitars and all that. That is a little bit, the truth has been stretched there. Over a period of time, months, there may have been 300 guitars that gone. They didn't even have 300 guitars in stock on that. They make only a certain amount a year because they are handmade. So that's not true. But if they can't give them away to like a school or kids or something, the ones that don't meet their standards, then they'll obviously, like anybody would, take out the good components. Like the good pickups are perfectly good. The machine heads, bridges, saddles, potentiometers, everything. They'll strip the guitar, and if the guitar neck can't be reused and they don't feel like they can fix it, then they do scrap the guitar. Some of them may have been scrapped, but it's not all 300. Some of them were given and donated. So there's a lot of ways so everybody who's like, oh yeah, they wouldn't destroy 300 guitars, won't they just give them to me? No, that's not exactly what happened. A lot of them were given away. Some of them were reclaimed, reused. They used what they could out of the guitar. They didn't just waste them. So anyway, that's another thing that was going around that is just, from what I understand through very, very good sources is just not true. So that's kind of what's happening there. As far as the Gibson situation, I talked about this before, did a video. I don't want to get too deep into this, but I think that, you know, Gibson's situation is going to be, you know, somebody's either obviously going to buy them out. I've heard reports of a Chinese company coming and looking at them and possibly buying them out, and I think that is a possibility. I believe that there's just so many things. They may, obviously Gibson's not going anywhere as far as a brand. They're too big of a brand. Somebody's going to do something and either you know, reorganize in some way. So I don't know exactly where that's going. I'm going to do a video on it soon, as I do more research and talk to more people that I feel like really have a good grasp on it. So that's kind of where that's at. I'm not going to talk a whole lot on it. Guitar Center, they have till April of 19 for most of their debt. I mean, they've got some big problems looming, and the problem is Guitar Center owes Gibson. Gibson is owed a lot of money by Guitar Center, and Guitar Center can't pay because Guitar Center's, they're deep in debt and they don't have the money to pay them, and so that doesn't help Gibson's situation. So I don't know if Gibson goes away, and I don't know how it's all going to happen when they, you know, with the debt situation, who owes who, but I do know that both of them have a lot of problems in the very near future. That's really, I mean, Gibson's already there, but they're going to have to work through. Again, I don't think they're going anywhere, either one of them. Something will happen. Now, I don't know if Guitar Center will do later on in 19 some closings, some store closings, and downsize a bit. I've talked about that. I kind of feel like that might be a route that they might go. Make it stronger instead of trying to continue to grow and grow and grow and grow and be the 7-Eleven of all places, because they're not. Guitar Center's not fun anymore. When you walk into them, it's the same thing everywhere. They don't have, you know, the stuff is just, it's regurgitated stuff that you see online everywhere else. It's nothing cool and fancy, and you know, you can go into some mom and pop shops and you get new stuff, you get cool stuff. So they're cool to go into. That's why I always say, man, support your local mom and pop shops, man. It's just that's you know, I understand there are certain times and certain places you have to go to GC for, but man, I wish everybody would support the mom and pop, because it would make it better for everybody. It really would, the industry in general. But that's my take on it. I'm not going to dwell on that. This was not about Gibson or Guitar Center. I kind of wanted to talk about Heritage a little bit. I am still a Heritage dealer. I will remain a Heritage dealer. I am going to get Heritage stuff in, but when they're ready to really crank the good stuff out, which is very soon. I think it's going to be the latter part of this year, so I'm kind of excited to see how good the stuff is going to be. I think it's going to be great. So I'm really excited. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hadn't posted in a while. I'm sorry. Again, I promise I'm going to start doing it more often. I've got a lot of stuff should be here in the next few days. I'm shooting this on a Saturday, so probably upload tonight or tomorrow, Sunday, and I don't know when I'll get to it. I got to edit it, but after all that, next week I should be getting, I'm hoping, some stuff in. So I have a few unboxings, and I'm going to try to, I've got some other ideas on videos I'm going to do. So anyway, want to get back to you, say hello guys, I'm still here. What's going on? I appreciate your support lately. My channel's really started to grow. It's still tiny, I know, but you know, when you come from 20 or 30 or 40 subscribers, and now we're starting to push 200 in a very short period of time, man, all I can do is say thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for liking and subscribing to the channel. Continue to keep it up, continue to share, and I guess that's it. Again, quit rambling guys. Thanks for watching, and remember guys, play like it's your last day. We'll see you guys later. Thanks.